I think I have always been a curious person who likes to connect. In fact, when I think about some of my childhood memories, I was all about connecting. One example is, for instance, from traveling. So as a kid, I lived in Estonia, and my grandmother, she lived in Belarus. And every year, I would go and visit her. Now, my favorite way to visit her was going by train. And that is because the moment we would get settled in, put our stuff away, what I would do as a kid, I would walk around the whole train and just find kids to play with, or just people to talk to. Another example is from when I went to the kindergarten. Now, I didn't go there for long, because apparently my parents had a little bit of trouble convincing me to go to the kindergarten and why that's needed. Somehow they managed. So at the kindergarten, when we were playing outside, sometimes what I would do is go further away from the other children and stand at the fence of the kindergarten. And when people would pass by on the other side of the fence, I would stop them and ask them, "Excuse me, can you tell me what the time is?" Now, probably I was just hoping that my parents would just come and pick me up and it's already time so I can leave this place. But I think it was an amazing opportunity to connect, which was random people. And I was especially lucky because across the street there was a hotel. So it meant that I will talk to not only local people, but also foreigners who would pass by, and I could use all of the languages that I knew by that time. Now, I know I'm not the only person who likes to connect. In fact, we all like doing that. We just do it in different ways and different quantities. Actually, we're all wired to connect. Starting from the moment we were born, we need to connect. If we wouldn't connect, we would just not survive because we need people to take care of us when we're born and when we grow up. And talking about children, I mean, they are so curious. The moment they see someone that is interesting for them, what they do is, and I believe that a lot of you have also seen that, they touch someone. They reach out and they touch. So they have this instant direct connection. And it's fun, people like that, they're like, "Oh, it's cute." But yeah, sometimes it's not cute, they get stuck in your hair and then you're in pain and you're like, okay, maybe I don't like this kid. And yeah, that's a good way to connect, right? You just touch people, connection, awesome. Now, when you're a grown-up, I wouldn't recommend doing that, just going around touching people. Although, yeah, it might get into trouble, but if you want to try it, just do it. Let me know afterwards how it goes. I'm curious. But fortunately, there are also other ways to connect. And for some of us, it's really easy. And for some of us, it's more difficult. Well, the good news is that throughout our life, our brains change, so we can also change the way we behave or the way we think. Now, when talking about change and connecting, oftentimes what it means, though, is that we need to open ourselves up to vulnerability. In a society that tells us how to behave and what to do in certain situations, we don't really want to be vulnerable. Yeah, we don't really want to be like, "Oh, I'm weak," or "I'm not managing something," or "I'm lonely." Yeah, we don't want to admit that. And I think a good example to look at is on social media. You see all of these beautiful pictures of people who are, "Oh, I'm so happy, I'm successful, I'm crushing it at life." And there are not so many people who will admit, "Oh yeah, I just cried for 2 hours because I had a mental breakdown and my life is not going so well." Yeah, you don't want to post that on social media. You want to show that you're doing good. Vulnerability takes courage. It takes courage to give, and it takes courage to receive. And it takes a lot of courage to take actions when there's no one there to tell us, you know what, here's a guarantee, it will go well, you're gonna do great. So throughout my life, I have traveled quite a lot, and I have also lived in different countries. And all of those experiences, what they have done is they have put me into this intensely vulnerable position. Because I had to connect, I had to make new friends, I had to find a new job, I had to go to new school and try to create like a connection with the teachers without knowing exactly where they come from or what they do. It has been very painful sometimes. Sometimes I had to just admit that I'm very lonely, and I had to ask people very directly, hi, do you want to be my friend? And sometimes it didn't work out. But wonderfully enough, mostly it did. And in those moments, I really tried to remember that childlike curiosity that we all have inside of us. And say, I'm just gonna try. I'm just gonna try and push through this moment and find connections and try to make it in that situation. Now, we all have the need to connect. According to one study, our need to connect actually even influences the way we remember information and how we learn. Basically what that means is that in our brains, when we receive new information, part of what our brains do is they automatically think whom we want to share this information with and how we can do that in the most compelling way. No wonder I am sometimes feeling so much joy from telling cool information to my friends and family. I mean, it's amazing. I'll have this fact and I'll be like, oh, I want to tell you. And it makes me happy. It makes me very happy to share that. And connecting, it helps us in so many ways. When we have better social skills, we're able to make our work environments way better. We learn better, we remember better. When we have the sense of belonging, we actually perform way better. There are studies even that show that students who feel like they belong in an environment, they have better grades. So basically, social connections are crucial to our health and to our happiness. And I don't know, maybe you have heard from somewhere, but when it comes to poor social connections, it can be as bad for us as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's intense. And when it comes to loneliness, then it can be worse for us than obesity. I mean, we live right now in times where, since last year, in United Kingdom, there is a minister for loneliness. Yeah, we need that in our society, apparently. And yet, I don't see people on a daily basis talking to their friends and family or co-workers or course mates about, oh, are you feeling lonely today? Do you have good social connections? Do you feel like you belong in the environment where you are? We don't have that. We don't talk about it. When was the last moment that you did that? So social connections, they help us to be better, to learn, to understand. They also remind us that we're all in this together. We are all very different. We have different backgrounds, we were raised in different places, we have different parents who also had different backgrounds, and yet we are actually longing for the same thing. I believe that connecting is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to find friends, to find love, to teach, to help, to get support. Connecting is everywhere, basically. Everything we do, kind of, is us connecting. And we can also do that in different ways. These days, there's almost infinite possibilities to connect. We can do that online, offline. We can go to events. We can come here and try to connect and be successful at it, or fail. No matter what the result is, we want to do that, and we have the possibilities. We just have to figure out how we want to do it, how we can do that. I wish that there was this magical recipe that would say, you know what, you do this, and you connect. And actually, when we just start looking on the internet, there's all these lists and tutorials and tips and tricks, and you can say, oh, like, do these 10 things, that's what all the successful people do, and then you'll be successful, and you'll have this business, and you'll be better and prettier and more sporty and all of those things. But I think that sometimes what we keep forgetting is that we actually need to create the tutorial for ourselves, because nobody knows us like we know ourselves. So we kind of, in a way, need to create this little recipe to connect for ourselves. And sometimes it can be really tough, so I would recommend just reminding ourselves that we're all in this together. Our brains are actually wired to connect, so we can actually do it even if we don't believe in ourselves. And also remember that every person that there is, every person has something to offer. Every person has different experiences, has different knowledge, has different interests. We just have to be curious about them, and we have to be kind to them, and we have to give them the opportunity to show themselves, and to show ourselves in return. So we can go through our lives on this pure autopilot, doing just the things that the society tells us to do. Or we can be curious. We can leave our assumptions behind, and we can see what we can bring to other people through connecting, and what other people can bring us. Thank you.